Is our mind really under our control? Contrary to what we think, we are not in charge of our ideas, emotions, and actions. Most people believe they are aware of and can control their emotions, thoughts, and actions. However, neuroscience surprisingly reveals that this is not the case. In reality, a large portion of brain activity consists of physical and biological processes that proceed without your knowledge and beyond your influence. Our helplessness in this situation can be observed through changes in the brain due to diseases and accidents. A shocking example is a case where a 40-year-old man, married for 20 years, unexpectedly developed an obsession with pornography. Medical examinations later revealed a significant tumor in the orbitofrontal cortex of his brain, the area responsible for decision-making, and his preferences returned to normal after the tumor was removed. There are subtler aspects in our mental life where our consciousness falls short. Sometimes the best state at the moment is when many processes in our brain, such as decision-making, function best in autopilot mode, without slowing down due to the hindrance of consciousness. For instance, it would be quite difficult for a musician to focus on each movement of their fingers while playing a piece. Focusing on the whole piece is easier, as the fingers will play the piece automatically without consciousness's trigger. Consider a baseball game where pitchers can deliver the ball to the batter in a fraction of a second. It takes a fifth of a second for the batter's brain to comprehend where the ball is going, so why don't batters miss more often? Batters choose to respond instinctively, bypassing their consciousness, much like you would jump when you see something coming at you quickly. The reality we consider is actually just a hallucination constructed by our subconscious. Look outside. Do you think what you see is an accurate representation of the world? In reality, what you see is more of a hallucination than a reality. Our visual perception system does not work like a video camera. It does not produce a direct image of our world, but interprets electrochemical signals that reach the brain. This situation applies to other senses like hearing and time perception. From this mixture of signals, our mind constructs a reality. This effect can be observed when reading a book. Although the words are just black scribbles on white paper, when arranged in lines, your brain imparts deep meaning to them. Consider Anton's syndrome, where people who have lost their sight due to a stroke still believe they can see, as they are deluded by a virtual reality they create for themselves. Of course, most of us are unaware of how our neurons build our reality because their operations are subconscious and very fast. For example, right now, you are simply watching and understanding the information on your screen. Fortunately, you are not aware of the constant, minute eye movements controlled by your brain. Different parts of the brain compete for control over behaviors. Do you see yourself as a single, unified personality? Many people do. However, when we look closer at our brain, we see that it is quite a simplification. The brain consists of several subsystems with different functions, and these areas also compete with each other for control over our behaviors. For example, it is clear that we have different logical and emotional brain systems. As you might expect, our logical system handles situations in a cooler, calmer manner, while our emotional system expresses emotions like anger, fear, and desire. Though often opposing, both are essential for a normal life. Without a properly functioning emotional system, you would spend all your time overanalyzing the world around you and be unable to make even the simplest decisions. Our emotions work fast and can be irrational, but they are extremely helpful and necessary for making trivial, everyday decisions. Additionally, the competition between various regions in the mind helps explain some strange phenomena. Have you ever considered how odd it is for a person to curse themselves? This extreme behavior can only be explained by the victory of one part of the brain over another. Or, have you thought about the peculiar nature of a smoker who wants to quit smoking but continues to smoke? Clearly, one part of the brain desires to stop the habit, while another part strongly craves it. The fundamental factor shaping our thought processes and preferences is evolution. Our brain's mode of operation is largely determined by evolution. Initially, evolution set the limits of our cognitive processing. Our range of thought is essentially limited to what was advantageous for our ancestors. For instance, it is impossible for us to visualize a five-dimensional sphere because five-dimensional objects did not offer any evolutionary advantage to our ancestors. Evolution also directs our preferences for taste and attractiveness. Most people find foods like apples, eggs, and potatoes tasty. Why? Because these foods contain sugar, protein, and vitamins, all of which were highly useful for our ancestors' survival. Additionally, we have a strong aversion to fecal matter. Why? Because such substances contain microbes that can endanger our health. And likely some of our ancestors who consumed them long ago did not survive. Our sexual interests also reflect this evolutionary state. We are attracted to humans, not frogs, for instance. This is because crossbreeding with other species is impossible. Consider the case of Charles Whitman, who, at 25, a loving and intelligent husband, became a mass murderer through expert marksmanship in a very short time. After being killed by police during the conflict, an autopsy on Whitman's body revealed a large tumor pressing on his amygdala, a region contributing to emotional control. At this point, was it him to blame for his deadly rage, or was it actually the tumor? Neuroscience has been incredibly useful in understanding the brain, human behaviors, and especially its subconscious parts, but it does not explain everything. For instance, due to the complexity and structure of the brain being unique for each individual, determined by their genes and environment, we will never be able to perfectly predict a person's behavior. Moreover, while we can learn a lot by physically measuring different parts of the brain, we might be missing something by not considering its holistic structure. Probably humans are more than the sum of their neurons. As complexity theorist Stuart Kauffman said, a chic couple walking along the banks of the Seine are indeed a chic couple walking along the banks of the Seine, not just moving particles.